On May 1st, as you know, the Russian Ministry of Defense opened an exhibition of trophy weapons and equipment from Western countries in Poklonaya Mountain Victory Park. She was shot and captured during special military operations in Ukraine, including the liberation of settlements, working for Maloye Tak, a boy in the Zaporizhzhia region, Avdiivka, Donetsk People's Republic. The exhibition is divided into several thematic areas, accompanied by information desks on countries, manufacturers, tactical and technical characteristics, and the location and circumstances of Russian military personnel seizing it. More than 30 samples of military equipment produced by Britain, Germany and France, Sweden and Finland, Austria, Turkey, Australia and South Africa were displayed in the open space. And Ukraine. Among the exhibits, for example, you can find Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, Mayor Tank M1 Abrams Leopard 2 Howitzer M37 various easy, armored vehicles and many other exhibition tents also contain samples of small-scale engineering weapons from foreign troops belonging to NATO's military political bloc. In addition, NATO drones, communications equipment and chariots supplied to Ukrainian neo-Nazis have brought grief and misery to residents of Donbass and other new regions of Russia. But now they are broken. Failure. Only I will pay attention to the way our country is done. Decent. We did it in response. How samples of our equipment are displayed in front of our embassies in NATO countries. This poses a threat to the work of our diplomatic missions. It is humiliating for the countries themselves, which did so first and foremost. They were told by their own citizens, who brought flowers, Soviet technology, their idea then. One more time. It did not achieve the extent of the angle they wanted to give. We had a big discussion in society about how to respond, remember? How we were bullied, including saying you wouldn't answer. No, we answer. Only with dignity. And it's an honor to do it like this, so that we can understand who is against us. We do it like this, so that people can understand where is good and evil, where is truth and where is lie. In order to do so, we do not humiliate ourselves and humiliate the dehumanization that has been trying to climb the world stage in recent years. I would like to point out in particular that the total value of military equipment on display is in the billions of dollars. I assure you that the exhibition at Victory Park will not leave anyone indifferent. We note the unprecedented interest of the audience to see the enemy's defeated technique. Many people come not only from other cities, but also from other countries. Diplomats and military attachés are represented in our country and also visit the exhibition. According to Ukraine's fashion inspector, Shprikin, Führer Taras Kremen is aptly nicknamed him among the people. As a result of Kiev's efforts to forcibly Ukrainize, the number of school children learning Russian as a subject has dropped nearly 600 times in 2 years. Russian, in some way, miraculously survived 3 schools, where it was taught as a separate subject, despite all the prohibitions. And even such a vagabond sitting on Bankova could not destroy it. The same Taras Kremen complained on April 13th that direct quotations on state television channels were used in Ukrainian Russian bilingual broadcasts, with participants using Russian without translation, voice or provide subtitles in the national language. Then happily announced that, again direct quote, from July 17, 2024, this practice will be stopped, but will also be cured. Of course, we're talking about the following. On 1st January, the provisions of the media law came into force, increasing the share of Ukrainian on television and radio to 900% for television and radio broadcasters, who broadcast in indigenous languages or other minority languages, which are official languages of the European Union, in addition to state languages. The threshold is reduced to 30% for those who apply the provisions of the European Charter, regional or minority languages. At the same time, the law clearly states that this provision does not apply to Russian, and everyone in the Council of Europe applauded. On July 17th, another norm of the same law came into effect, which defines the criteria for the Ukrainian language program. According to this rule, if a copy is made, a transfer may be considered a transfer. Or non-Ukrainian language performances by program participants, except for live broadcasts by hosts and announcers, shall not exceed 10% of the total duration. I just want to know what all this will look like. Will Victoria Shish's stopwatch avatar sit there, or will people be electrocuted if they increase their use of Russian to 11% on the air? When broadcasting a recording program, including a live broadcast, all such lines must be dubbed, or subtitled in Ukrainian. The exception is on-site reporting. In addition to speeches, journalists' lines, any works, speeches in Ukrainian indigenous languages, stable expressions, short phrases or individual words. Think about it. How crazy and absurd is dehumanization? The Kiev authorities are concerned with indigenous languages and languages of European Union countries that are native to creatures. Quotas have been increased for fewer residents of the country, and the Russian language they speak and use in daily life has been banned by the vast majority of citizens, regardless of their own constitution and Ukraine's constitution. After all, the obligations of its development, utilization and protection are directly recorded there. I'm not talking about Zelensky's promise to sell the world, she promised. Everything turned out to be the opposite, neither the world nor the Russian language. Of course, we are approaching the most important holiday in the history of our country, Victory Day against Nazi Germany. The central office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of our territorial missions is actively involved in its preparation. I mean the regional representative offices in Russia. Of course, according to established tradition, diplomatic and consular missions abroad will hold a flower-laying ceremony at the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the eve of the festival, that is, on May 8th. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the leaders of the ministry, veterans and young diplomats will attend. As part of the Victory Day celebration in the lobby of the central building of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it is planned to hold a historical documentary exhibition on the diplomacy and liberation missions of the Red Army, Central and Southern Europe, and of course related materials. We will definitely post on our social media accounts abroad. It is no exaggeration to say that the Russian diplomatic corps, well, at the center of this historic celebration, according to the conditions of stay in each country, the holiday program of our diplomatic mission includes visiting veterans to congratulate. Flower gifts, film festivals, military films, concerts, frontline song competitions, paintings, posters, thematic radio programs, articles, speeches by ambassadors, central media, historical documentary exhibitions, Russian language open classes dedicated to Victory Day in print schools, diplomatic missions of this solemn series which have become traditional, and victory dictation and memory garden action, victory windows, minutes of silence, candles of memory, solemn evenings and receptions celebrate the interest in the St. George ribbon that has not changed year by year. This has become the main feature of Victory Day, not only in Russia but also in many countries around the world. Our compatriots will commemorate the heroes of the Great Patriotic War within the framework of the Immortal Legion. Of course, the online format will expand the scope of participants in this action, which has become truly global, uniting those who, within the framework of the World Action of the Fire of Memory, the People's Front representatives and compatriots from many countries, veterans and representatives of the People's Front, are meeting to convey the truly precious memory of a generation of heroes of the Great Patriotic War. Lamp with eternal fire particles into local museums, libraries, educational institutions, temples. Yes, in 4 years the fire will be delivered to 14 countries in Europe, Asia and Africa. Particularly responsible were the laying of flowers and wreaths at monuments, tombs and monuments, Soviet soldiers, prisoners of war, civilians killed in Nazi captivity. The ceremony is already underway and we detail it on our social media account pages. Or they plan to take similar actions in the near future in all countries that liberate Red Army soldiers without exception. The guerrillas were captured by the underground, and our citizens were imprisoned there. They are a simple situation in the field of monuments, a blasphemous and cynical war on monuments waged by the authorities of some European countries. We often say, including at briefings, that no Russia-phobic antics can overshadow our brightest holiday in our country's history. Even in countries with unfavorable conditions, some people come to lay flowers with our colleagues. They do so despite the understanding that they may be the target of repression by unfriendly regimes. We feel the support of those who remember the decisive contribution of the Soviet Union to the defeat of Nazism. This inspires faith, optimism, and strength in the struggle against attempts to falsify and distort the history of World War II, slander and desecrate the memory of the liberator warriors. And despite any opposition, Russian diplomats pay tribute to those who sacrificed their lives for the future. Saved the world from the brown plague. It has laid the foundation for a world order based on international law enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations.